Good morning. Today we will be discussing the key concepts of functions, the functions and their graphs. Okay, so objectives at the end of this lesson, the learner should be able to, number one, represent real-life situations using functions, including piecewise functions, evaluate function, perform addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and composition of functions, solve problems involving functions. Okay, representing real-life situations using functions. So first, what are functions? Okay, so in mathematics, a function is a relationship or an expression between two or more variables. Okay, so it can be viewed as a connection between an input and corresponding output. So based on the input that was given. Okay. So representing functions. So how we usually represent functions. Okay? Functions can be represented in a different ways. Okay? So number one, or the first one, is through words. Okay? So the relationship between two variables is such that one is always 3 times the other. Okay, so that is one example how to represent the functions through words. Okay, so next, through mapping. Okay, so we have here example number 2, the mapping diagram. Okay, so we have the first elements and the second elements. Okay, so the first one represents the input, and the second one represents the output. Okay, so the arrow here represents the operation performed. Okay, so for the first element, we have here 8 mapped to -1. Okay, so meaning we have an input of 8 and the output is 1 or -1. Okay, so next one is 9 mapped to -3. So we have an input of 9 and the process of through mapping, and we have the output of -3, and so on and so forth. Okay, so functions can also be represented using the table. Okay, so for this example, we have the input column and output column. Okay, so for example, first example here, we have 1 input and then an output of 3. Okay. Next, we have input of 2 and then we have an output of 6. Okay, and so on and so forth. So those are the different ways. So another representation of functions. So functions can also be represented by the following. Okay? So set of ordered number pairs. So for example, the f of x. So f of x represents function. Okay? So f of x is equal to the set of 1, 3 and 2, 6, 3, 9, 4, 12. Okay, so each ordered pair is a sample of function. So the first element of an ordered pair is the input, and the second element of an ordered pair is the output. Okay, so for this example, we have a 4 set of ordered pairs representing function. Okay. So next, we can also represent function through the algebraic formula. So here we have an example of f of x equals 3x. Okay, so that's how you read that. Okay, so f of x is equal to 3x. So next, functions can also be represented by graph. Okay, so if you are familiar with the coordinate plane, so we have the x-axis, the horizontal line, and the y-axis. If you can recall your previous studies regarding this coordinate plane. Okay? So this line represents a function. Okay? So next. So representing real-world situations using functions can be easy if you have a lot of practice. So here are some steps that you could follow. Okay, so paano ba natin nire-represent si function in our real life or real-world situation? So paano ba? So number 1, choose a real-life activity that you would want to represent. Okay? So next is identify which variable depends on another. So this is the dependent variable, okay? Also known as the variable being computed. Okay? So a dependent variable represents the output. So number 3, identify the independent variable. So this is where the dependent variable is computed from, or it represents the input. Okay, number 4, represent the relationship between or among the variables in a mathematical equation. Okay, so katulad ng example natin earlier, we have the function f of x. So we have the example here, f of x is equal to 3x. So that is an example of mathematical equation. Okay? So note, it is good to remember that for a function, exactly one value of the dependent variable y should be associated to a value of the independent variable x. So what does that mean? So for every x, there should be only one value of y. Okay? Otherwise, hindi na magiging function yung given. Okay, so we have an example here. So let us go back to the previous examples, okay? So we have number of pieces of shirt you'll buy. So these are the number of shirts and the price per shirt. Okay, so if you have to buy less than 5, the price per shirt is 75 pesos. Okay? So if you're gonna buy 5 to 10 pieces of shirts, the price per shirt will be 70 pesos. And greater than 10 or more than 10 shirts, that would be equal to 65 pesos per shirt. Okay? So from the example, the number of pieces of shirt is the independent variable. Okay? So these are the independent variables. Okay, so let us represent this as the variable x. Okay, so as this is commonly used to represent a variable in mathematics. Okay, so the total price you will pay for a certain number of shirts is your dependent variable. Okay, so let us represent this as y or simply as f of x. Okay. Okay, so let us represent this as y or simply as f of x. So this is a function of x. Okay, so putting all variables together and identifying relationship, so we have f of x represents the total price you will pay. Okay, so that is f of x is equal to the variable x, or number of pieces of shirt, okay, number of pieces of shirt times the price per shirt. Okay, so in this given, if number of shirt is less than 5, the price is 75 times the number of shirts to buy. Okay, so if the number of pieces that you will buy is greater than 5 or equal to 5, but less than 10 or equal to 10. So the price of the shirt would be 70 times the number of shirts to buy. Okay, so that is 70 times x. So if x, or the total number of shirts, is greater than 10, the price would be 65 times x, or the total number of shirts. Okay, so this is called the piecewise function. So each line is a single function on its own. Okay, each line is a single function on its own. So for function 1, we have f of x is equal to 75 times x. Okay, so for function 2, we have f of x equals 70 times x. And for function 3, we have f of x is equal to 65 times x. So, okay, so another example. So, when your mom is buying a rug for your living room, so she needs to make sure that the length, the width, and the area covered by the rug fits that of the floor of the room where the rug will be placed. So, kailangan niya ng eksaktong sukat. Okay? So, that is an example of function. Okay, so next, parking, other example, parking garage fee. So 35, so we have here the condition 35 for the first 3 hours. So 35 pesos for the first 3 hours, and then 10 pesos per hour for the succeeding hours, or a fraction of hours. So pag sinabing fraction of hour, hindi eksaktong 1 hour. Okay, so next, how much will you pay for 2.5 hours? Okay, how about for 7 hours? How about for 8.75 hours? Okay, so this is the condition. So we have f of x, or function of x, is equal to, or represented by 35 for the x, for every x that is less than or equal to 3. Okay, so that is the condition 1 here. Okay, for the first 3 hours. So that is x is less than or equal to 3. Okay, so next we have 35 pesos plus 10 times x minus 3. So, bakit tayo nag-x minus 3? It's because x represents the total number of hours being, or parking hours, okay, in the garage. Okay, but we have the condition, first condition here, that for the first 3 hours, the price would be 35. Okay, so since the price of the first 3 hours is different from the succeeding hours, so we have to deduct the 3, or the first 3 hours, to the total number of hours. Okay, so iba yung presyo ng unang pangatlong oras doon sa mga susunod pang oras. Kaya tayo nagbawas ng 3 dito sa x. Okay, so ang price nun is 35 plus 10 times kung ilan yung matitira kapag binawasan ng unang 3 oras. Okay? So, ang condition dito, where x is greater than 3. Kapag mas malaki siya sa 3, so ganito yung magiging formula or function. Okay, so evaluating function means you are getting the value of function. Okay, so the dependent variable. So at any given input, or the independent variable. So kanina, yung example natin about shirts, ito yung representation ng kanyang operation, and here is the function. Okay, so we have the function 1, f of x is equal to 75 times x, or 75 pesos times the number of shirts to buy when when x is less than 5. So for function 2, okay, the condition here, x is greater than or equal to 5, or less than or equal to 10. So the function would be f of x is equal to 70 times x, or 70 pesos times the total number of shirts to buy. And then we have the condition number 3 where x is greater than 10, and then the function or f of x would be equal to 65 times x. Okay, so think of a function as a factory. So the factory does something to the input to create an output. Okay, di ba? So, paano ba ginagawa yung shirts? Okay, nag-uumpisa sa tela, and then pinaprocess, and then you have your output. Okay? So, next. So, determining output value means evaluating the function. Okay, so to evaluate a function, substitute the input value for every instance of the independent variable in the function. Okay, so magkakaroon tayo ng input, and then dadaan tayo sa process or operation, and then you have the output value. So that is the process of identifying the dependent variable. Okay, so this is the independent variable. So you perform operation, and then you will have the output value or the dependent variable. So lagi nyo tatandaan, nakadepende lagi yung output value sa input value. Okay, kung ilan yung nilagay mong input, okay, perform the operation, and then magkakaroon ka ng output value. So depende sa operation performed. Okay, so example. So given the function f of x is equal to 5x plus 1. Okay, so ito na tayo sa mathematical equation. So determine the value of the function at x is equal to 2, to 4, to 6, to 8, and to 10. Okay, so if x daw is equal to 2, or x is equal to 4, x equal to 6, 8, and 10. Okay? So, in order for you to be able to find the value of the function, you have to substitute the value of x by this given data or inputs. So, ito yung input natin. Okay? Substitute the x values to the equation. Okay. So, for the first one, so we have f of x is equal to 5 times the value of x, which is 2, dito, sa first input natin. Okay? Plus, kopya lang yung 1. Okay? So, that is equal to 11. So, paano siya nangyari? So, 5 times 2 is equal to 10 plus 1. So, that is 11. Okay? As simple as that. Okay? So, now, situation number 2, we have f of x is equal to 5 times 4. So, saan nanggaling si 4? Sa second input. Okay? Second input. Okay? Sinubstitute si 4 doon sa x. Kaya meron tayong 5. X substituted by 4 plus 1. Okay? So that is equal to 21. So paano siya kinompute? So that is 5 times 4 plus 1. Okay? 5 times 4 is 20 plus 1. So that is 21. So as simple as that. Okay, so next we have f of x is equal to 5 times 6. Same operation. Third input is 6. Substitute to x. So that is 5 times x, or 5 times 6 plus 1 is equal to 31. So 5 times 6 plus 1 is equal to 31. 5 times 6 is 30 plus 1. Okay? So, and so on and so forth. So, if x is equal to 8, the answer is 41. If x is equal to 10, then the answer is 51. Okay, so these are the inputs. Okay, and these are the outputs. Okay, so if for every input of 2, there is an output of 11 through the operation or the function. Okay? Simple as that. So, performing addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and composition of functions. So, definition of the sum, difference, product, quotient, and composition of functions. So, functions can be treated like arithmetic values when it comes to combining them. Okay? So, the sum of two functions, f of x and g of x, is denoted by f plus g of x. Okay? So, that's how you read it. Okay? So, again, the sum of two functions, f of x and g of x, is denoted by f plus g of x. Okay? And it is defined by f plus g of x is equal to f of x plus g of x. Okay. So next, the difference of two functions. Again, f of x and g of x is denoted by the difference. Okay, so f minus g of x, and that is defined by f minus g of x is equal to f of x minus g of x. Okay. So next, the product of two functions. So again, f of x and g of x is denoted by f times g of x. Okay, so and is defined by f times g of x is equal to f of x times g of x. Okay, so that's how you represent that in the product. Okay, the quotient of two functions. So how do you represent the quotient of two functions? So we have f of x and g of x. That is denoted by f over g of x, and is defined by f over g of x is equal to f of x over g of x. Okay. So next, the composition of two functions. So f of x and g of x is denoted by f the whole of g of x. Okay? So iba yung representation nito as to compared sa product. Though pareho silang pabilog. Okay? So the product has a solid dot, while in the composition there is a whole. Okay? So f composition of g of x, and this is defined by f composition of g of x is equal to f of g of x. Okay, so that's how you read this, f of g of x. Okay, example. So given f of x is equal to 5x minus 20 and g of x is equal to 5x. Okay? So that is the given. So determine the sum, the difference, product, quotient, and composition of the functions. Okay. So for the sum, the definition earlier, f plus g of x is equal to f of x plus g of x. So you have to substitute the value of f of x and g of x. Okay, so since f of x is equal to 5x minus 20, eto yan. Okay, the first parenthesis here, 5x minus 20. So that is f of x plus, okay, plus g of x, or the value of g of x. Kaya siya merong 5x. Okay, so we have f plus g of x is equal to the quantity of 5x minus 20 plus 5x. Okay, so this is equal to 5x plus 5x minus 20. So by arranging to like terms, no, yung 5x, dinikit natin dun sa 5x, kaya meron tayong dito dalawang 5x, and then kopya lang yung minus 20. Okay? So, for us to be able to add directly. Para hindi nakakalito. Okay? So, ganun ang ginagawa natin. Pinagdidikit natin yung like terms. Okay? So, yung like terms here is the 5x, 5x. Okay? Pareho silang merong variable na x. Okay? So, this is equal to 10x minus 20. Okay? So, 5x plus 5x is equal to 10x minus 20. Okay, so for the difference, we have f minus g of x. So that is equal to the value of f of x minus the value of g of x. Okay, so that is f minus g of x is equal to the quantity 5x minus 20 minus 5x. Okay, so that is equal to 5x minus 5x. Okay, so paano siya naging negative 5x or paano siya naging minus 5x? So, since difference tayo, so magiging negative yung 5x here. Kaya siya 5x minus 5x, then kopya yung minus 20. Okay? So, since 5x minus 5x is equal to 0, so the answer will be negative 20. Okay? Kakancel out na natin ito. Positive 5x minus 5x is equal to 0. Then, the answer is negative 20. Okay, so for the products, we have f times g of x. So that is equal to 5x, or the quantity of 5x minus 20 times 5x. Okay, this is the value of f of x again, and this is the value of g of x. So since this is a multiplication or the product, so magiging mathematical representation natin would be 5x times the quantity 5x minus 20. Okay? So, dinikit natin, pinunta natin sa first term, and then imumultiply natin sa quantity na ito. Okay? So, we have 5x. Remember, when we are multiplying variables to a terms, that is distributive. Okay? Sa multiplication, meron tayong distributive property when it comes to a quantity or naka-enclose sa parentheses. Okay? So, kung ilang terms yung nasa loob ng parentheses, ganun din natin imumultiply yung nasa labas. So, si 5x, ita-times natin sa 5x, at si 5x ay ita-times din natin sa 20. So, since dalawa yung term na nasa loob ng parentheses. Okay, so that is distributive property. Okay, so that would be equal to 5x times 5x is equal to 25x. Okay? So, 25x squared. Okay? So, since meron siyang variable na x, so magiging squared na yon. Okay, so 5 times 5 is 25, and then x times x is x squared. And then 5x times negative 20, so that would be 100 times x, or 100x. Okay, so simple as that. Quotient, we have f over g of x. So we have here the value of f of x as the numerator and g of x as denominator. So we have 5x minus 20 over 5x. So, that is equal to, through factoring, so nagkaroon tayo ng value na ito. Okay? So, si 5 nilabas natin sa term na ito. So, ito, pag minultiply mo dyan, so that is 5x, ito yun. Ito, pag minultiply mo dito, so that is 20. Okay? The reason we are factoring, para ma-cancel out natin si 5. Okay? So, meron tayong 5 dito. Since meron tayong 5 sa denominator, pwede natin siyang i-cancel. Okay? So, we have here x minus 4 over x. Kasi, kinancel natin si 5. Okay? Kinancel natin yung same value. So, ang natira na lang is x minus 4 over x. Ito yun. Okay, composition. Composition of g of x. So, we have, that is equal to f of 5x is equal to, di ba? Ang g of x, okay, g of x is 5x. Okay? So, f ng 5x or g of x is equal to 5 5, remember, yung value ng f of x is 5x minus 20. Okay? So, ang value ng g of x is 5x. Ngayon, si 5x, isa-substitute natin sa x na value ng f of x. So, kaya tayo merong 5x or 5 times 5x minus 20. So, x dapat to. Okay? So, x dapat to. So, pinalitan natin ng 5x, which is the value of g of x. Okay? So, ganun sa composition. Okay? Hanapin mo muna yung value ng g of x. Then, yun yung gagamitin mong function or independent variable, and then substitute doon sa value ng x. Okay? So, we have 5 times 5x minus 20. So, that is equal to 25x, so 5 times 5x minus 20. So that is composition. Solving problems involving functions. So, key concepts of rational functions. So the objectives at the end of this lesson, the learner should be able to, number 1, represent real-life situation using rational functions. Number 2, distinguish rational function, rational equation, and rational inequality. Solve rational equations and inequalities. Represent a rational function through its A, table of values, B, graph, and equation. Okay, so representing real-life situations using rational functions. The definition, what is rational function? So mathematically, any function that has the form f of x is equal to p of x over q of x is a rational function. So p of x and q of x can be expressions on their own, but q of x should not be equal to 0. Otherwise, the fraction would be meaningless or undefined. Rational functions in the real world. So there are many different applications of rational functions in the real world. So this could be, but not limited to, medical dosage, cost of living, cost of production of goods, work problems, and even the COVID-19 cases. Okay, so you can apply these rational functions. So this is example, cost per piece. So there is a cake sale in your school. So one baker sells his cake for 200 pesos for the first piece you buy, and 180 pesos for the next pieces. So if you bought 5 pieces of cake, how much did you pay per piece? Okay, so note that this is the different from the piecewise function we discussed earlier. So per piecewise, we are computing for the value per piece. Okay, so here we are finding the total amount to pay for x number of cakes. Okay, so f of x is equal to, so this can be represented by f of x is equal to 200 for x is equal to 1. Kapag isa lang yung binili mo. And then 180 pesos for every x which is greater than 1. Okay, so the function would be equal to f of x is equal to 200 plus 180 times x minus 1 over x. So this is by finding the price paid for each cake. Magkano yung total na binabayaran per piece paid for each cake. Okay? So another example, your family is renting a van to go on a vacation. The van rental cost is 5,000 pesos for the first 24 hours. And 3,500 pesos for succeeding 24 hours, or a fraction of 24 hours. So how much will you pay for each day for the ban if you will rent for certain number of days. So the function will be f of x is equal to 5,000 for the first day or first 24 hours. So that is x is equal to 1. And 3,500 for every x that is greater than 1. So that's how you find on how much will be paid for the rent of the van. So the function would be equal to f of x is equal to 5,000 plus 3,500 times the quantity x minus 1 over x. Okay, ito yung price nung unang day or first 24 hours plus 3,500 for every x greater than 1. So kaya siya may minus 1, dinededuct natin yung first day na payment. So magkaiba yung presyo ng first day payment sa succeeding days payment over total number of days rented. Okay, so that's how you find how much cost of rent of van per day. Okay, distinguishing rational function, rational equation, and rational inequality. So a rational equation, rational function, recall that a rational function is any function in the form f of x is equal to p of x over q of x. So any function which resembles a fraction is a rational function. So the numerator of the rational function p of x could be any expression, a value, a variable, or a polynomial expression. So the denominator q of x could also be any expression. Okay? But always remember that q of x should not be equal to 0, as this would result to a division by 0, which is undefined or meaningless. Okay? Rational equations. A rational equation is a rational function whose value is equated to a value. Okay? So f of x is equal to p of x over q of x is a rational function. If f of x is set to any value c, then f of x is equal to c. Then the function becomes an equation. So through this mathematical representation, p of x over q of x is equal to c. Okay? Remember, rational function whose value is equated to a value. So that is the rational equation. So p of x over q of x is a value of f of x, and c is also a value of f of x. So a value that is equated to a value. So next, rational inequality is similar to a rational equation, but instead of using equal sign and assigning inequality, we use relational operators such as less than, equal to, greater than, and greater than, equal to. So for example, p of x over q of x is less than c, p of x over q of x is less than or equal to c, and so on and so forth. So with c as any value are rational inequalities. Solving rational equations and inequalities. Solving for rational equations. So when solving for rational equations, you must first simplify the given rational equation so it will be easier for you to solve the equation. Solving for rational equations means evaluating the value of the variable x. Okay, so for example, solve for x in the rational equation 4 over 2x minus 2 equals 1/2. So, again, rational function is any function that is represented by a fraction. Okay, so this rational equation is a rational function, and since it is represented by a fraction, we have to simplify the fraction first, okay, in order for us to be easier to compute for the value of x. So, to eliminate the fraction for both sides, we have to cross multiply. Okay, so 4 times 2. So we have here 4 times 2, and then 1 times 2x minus 2. So we have 1 times the quantity 2x minus 2. Then we have already eliminated the fraction. Okay? So 4 times 2 is 8. And 1 times the quantity 2x minus 2 is the same, 2x minus 2. Okay? So next step, we have added 2, or meron tayong plus 2. This is to eliminate the constant term on the right side. So ito yung right side natin ng equation. And we have to eliminate negative 2 para matitira na lang ay 2x. So for us to be able to eliminate negative 2, add tayo ng positive 2. Okay, so negative 2 plus 2 is 0. So matitira, 2x na lang. And then 8 plus 2 is 10. Okay, so 10 is equal to 2x. Then to eliminate the numerical coefficient of x, which is 2, so we have to divide both sides by 2. Okay, so we have 10 over 2 is equal to 2x over 2. And 2x over 2 is equal to x. So meron tayong x, 10 divided by 2, x is equal to 5. So that's how you evaluate rational equation. Next, another example, we have 4x minus 6 over 3x minus 9 is equal to 1/3. Okay? For us to be able to compute easier, we have to simplify the rational equation first. And to simplify this fraction, you just have to cross multiply. So 4x minus 6 times 3. So ito yun. And then 1 times 3x minus 9. Ito yun. So we have distributive property. Okay, so 3 times 4x is equal to 12x. 3 times negative 6 is equal to negative 18. And then for the right side, we have 1 times 3, 3x. 1 times negative 9 is negative 9x. So we have the equation 12x minus 18 is equal to 3x minus 9. Okay? So for us to be able to compute for the value of x, so kailangan natin i-combine yung like terms. Ang like terms dito ay 12x and 3x, and then yung dalawang constant natin. So transpose natin si 3x sa left side ng equation by adding negative 3x both sides. Okay? So kapag nag-add tayo ng negative 3 dito, negative 3x dito, makakancel to. Ang may iwan is negative 9. Okay? And then, magkakaroon tayo ng negative 3x sa left side. And then, to eliminate naman yung 18, yung negative 18, mag-a-add tayo ng positive 18. Okay? Both sides. O, kanina, eliminate natin si 3x. So, nagkaroon tayo ng negative 3x dito. Pag nag-add tayo ng 18 both sides, makakancel to. Negative 18 plus 18 is 0. Magkakaroon tayo ng positive 18 dito sa right side. So we have 12x minus 3x is equal to 18 minus 9. Okay, so 12x minus 3x is 9x. 18 minus 9 is 9. And to simplify, we have to divide both sides by 9 para matanggal yung, para maging 1 yung numerical coefficient ng x. So we have x is equal to 9 over 9. So x is equal to 1. So that's how you evaluate rational equation. So another example. Okay, rational inequalities. Solving rational inequalities follows the same procedures as solving rational equations. Okay? So remember, when multiplying a negative number to a whole inequality, you have to reverse the inequality sign. Okay? So always remember that. Kapag may multiply sa negative number yung whole inequality, kailangan mong i-reverse yung inequality sign. So, for example, solve for x in the rational inequality, x plus 3 over x plus 1, that is greater than 0, where x should not be equal to negative 1. Kasi kapag negative 1 to, yung x magiging undefined or 0 yung denominator. Okay? So, next step natin is to break natin yung numerator and denominator. So, we will be having x plus 3 is greater than 0 and x plus 1 greater than 0. Okay? Or x plus 3 less than 0 and x plus 1 less than 0. Okay. So we have same procedure with the rational equality. You have to eliminate yung numerical coefficient na kasama ng x. So in order for us to eliminate na positive 3, so mag-add lang tayo ng negative 3 both sides. Negative 3, negative 3. So we will be canceling positive 3 here. Matitira x which is greater than negative 3. 0 plus negative 3 is negative 3. So x is greater than negative 3. And same procedure dito. X plus 1 greater than 0. Add tayo ng negative 1 both sides. Magkakaroon tayo ng x na lang dito and then negative 1. Or same procedure here. Okay? So x plus 3 less than 0. Add tayo ng negative 3 both sides. So x now is less than negative 3. And x is less than negative 1. Okay, so the possible answer for the given inequality would be x is greater than negative 1 or x is less than negative 3. So those are the possible answer. Another example. So x plus 3 over x plus 1 greater than or equal to 3, where provided that x is not equal to negative 1 or should not be equal to negative 1. So same procedure, simplify the given inequality. Okay? So for us to be able to equate this to 0, kailangan natin i-transpose si 3 sa left side na equation. So magkakaroon tayo ng negative 3 both sides. So ito na yung resulting equation. So x plus 3, resulting inequality. So we have x plus 3 over x plus 1 minus 3 less than or greater than or equal to 0. Okay? So since this is a terms of fraction and whole number, gagawa natin ng paraan para maging fraction din yung 3 or yung whole number. Okay? So we have here x plus 3 over x plus 1 minus 3 times x plus 1 over x plus 1. So saan nanggaling si x plus 1? So binase natin si x plus 1 sa denominator ng fraction na ito. Okay, ito yung fraction, ito yung denominator niya. For us to have the common denominator, ito yung gagawin natin. So tinimes lang natin si 3 sa parang 1 eh. 3x plus 1 plus over x plus 1 is equal to 1 actually. So 3 times 1 lang yan. Okay? 3 times 1. Parang yun lang yan. Kasi itong buong fraction na to equal sa 1 yan. X plus 1 over x plus 1 is equal to 1. Okay? So, ginamit natin ang x plus 1 over x plus 1 dahil yun ang denominator ni x plus 3 over x plus 1. Okay? For us to be able to add this easily, yung dalawang fraction, kailangan magkaroon sila ng parehong denominator. So, ang next step nito, ito na. Okay? So, we have common denominator x plus 1 and then you just have to perform the operations sa numerator. Okay? So, we have x plus 3 minus distributive 3x 3 times 1. So, magkakaroon tayo na negative 3x since difference to or subtraction, magkakaroon tayo ng negative 3x and negative 3. So, this is the new inequality now. And then, next step, collecting like terms. So, x, sasama natin by negative 3x. So, x minus 3x is equal to negative 2x and 3, positive 3 minus 3 is 0. So, we have negative 2x here. And then, copy the denominator. So, the resulting inequality will now be negative 2x over x plus 1 greater than or equal to 0. Okay? So, that is the how you simplify. Okay? We are simplifying inequality first for us to be able to easily compute the value of x. Okay? Now, since this is the simplified form of this one, so we will be now computing the value of x, or the possible values of x. Okay, so first, you have to equate the inequality to 0. So we have negative 2x numerator. greater than or equal to 0, and x plus 1 greater than 0. Okay? Greater than 0 and x plus 1 should not be equal to 1 or negative 1. Okay? Negative 1. So, should be greater than 0. Or negative 2x less than or equal to 0 and x plus 1 less than 0. Okay. So, we have here, for us to be able to eliminate the numerical coefficient of negative 2x, we have to divide both sides by negative 2. So, remember, i-recall nyo yung rule ng inequality kapag nag-multiply tayo ng negative symbol or number by the whole inequality, we have to reverse the inequality symbol. Okay, so we have divided by negative 2, both sides. So, negative 2x over negative 2 is x. And then reverse yung symbol. 0 over negative 2 is 0. And x is greater than negative 1. Okay, so paano naging negative 1? So, x plus 1. So, mag-a-add tayo ng negative 1 para ma-eliminate si constant term. Okay, so x plus 1 minus 1 is equal to x. Eliminate na to. And then, both sides, yung negative 1. So, 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Okay, so the result is now, x is greater than negative 1, but less than or equal to 0. Or, we have the same procedure here. X is greater than or equal to 0, and x is less than negative 1. Okay, but this given answer or values of x is not possible. So, bakit? Si 0 ay laging mas malaki sa negative number or negative 1. So, hindi siya possible. So, this answer is not possible. Okay? 0 can never be less than negative 1. Okay? So, this answer is not possible. And we will be considering this as the true answer of this given rational inequality. So, x is greater than negative 1 but less than or equal to 0. So, representing rational function through its table, values, graph, and an equation. So, table of values. For representing rational function as table of values, you just need to identify the values for x you need to use and solve for the value of function at those points. So, example, for the rational function f of x, x is equal to x plus 1 over x minus 1. Note that x is not equal to 1 as this value will make the function undefined. So, for the given inequality, this will be the resulting value. If x, or this is the value of x and this is the value of the function. Okay, so whenever f(x) is equal to negative 2, the value of the function would be 1 over 3. You just have to substitute negative 2 dun sa value ng x and then compute for the value of the function. Whenever f(x) is negative 1, the value of the function is 0, and whenever f(x) is 0, then negative 1, and so on and so forth. Pagdating sa 1, if x is 1, magiging 1 minus 1, undefined yun. Okay, so that's how you represent the table of values for rational functions. So you may use the table values you have created previously to plot the points of the rational functions. Okay, kasi we can also represent rational functions through graphing. But in order for you to be able to plot this graph, you have to use yung table. Pwede mo siyang gamitin to plot the points. Okay, so we have the same table values dun sa previously. And you have to plot these points sa ating coordinate plane. So this is what you call the coordinate plane. And if you can recall, this is the x-axis and the y-axis. So how you plot these points? So first ordered pair here. So we have negative 2 and 1/3. So you just have to count negative 2 backwards, or going to the left, since this is negative 2 and then 1/3. So this point here, or ordered pair, is plotted here. Okay, next one is negative 1, 0. So you just have to count negative 1 and that's it. So next is 0, negative 1. So 0 and then negative 1. And so on and so forth. This point, you cannot actually plot this because the ordered pair is meaningless. Okay? So that's it. So equation. Representing rational functions as equations simply means using variables to show the relationship of two entities. So for example, using our previous function, f of x is equal to x plus 1 over x minus 1, we can represent the function as an equation using the following notation. Y is equal to x plus 1 over x minus 1. So yung f of x, pinalitan lang natin ng y. So this is now the rational equation. Finding the domain and range of a rational function. Okay, so domain, the set of all values for x, which the function is defined, and range is the set of all values of y, for which the function takes from the values of the domain. Okay, so when determining the domain and range of a rational function, it is very important to note that the domain of the function should not include values of x, which would make the denominator 0. Okay, remember, ang denominator natin hindi pwedeng maging 0. That would result to undefined. So the domain of a rational function consists of all real numbers except for those values which would make the denominator 0. So one way to determine the range of rational function is by getting the domain of the inverse of the rational function. Okay? So for example, get the domain and range of f of x equals x plus 1 over x minus 1. So domain, all real number except 1. Okay? X is equal to 1. So hindi siya pwedeng maging equal sa 1 yung x kasi 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay? So hindi siya pwede. All real number except 1. So getting the inverse of the function, so how will you get the inverse? Okay, so first, y equals x plus 1 over x minus 1. Then you have to cross multiply, so we have y times the quantity x minus 1 equals x plus 1. And then, performing the operation y times x, so we have xy, y times negative 1, we have y, and then copy the right side of the equation. Then, by collecting, by transposing the x to the left side of the equation and transposing the y to the right side of the equation, you have to add negative x both sides and then positive y both sides. So this will be the result, xy minus x. Since nag-add tayo ng negative x both sides, dito makakancel siya. So dito ma-remain yung negative x. And then add ka ng positive y both sides. So we have cancelled here. And then y on the right side. So we have xy minus x is equal to y plus 1. Okay? So next, collecting common multiple. So we have x common multiple for this given term. So we have x. Okay? So nilabas lang natin si x. Okay? So x times the quantity y minus 1, same lang dito. And then we equals y plus 1. Okay? So now, for us to be able to eliminate yung variable na ito, or yung term na ito, so we have to divide it both sides by this term. Okay? So, divided by y minus 1. So, para x na lang yung may iwan sa left side of the equation. So that's how you perform the inverse, okay, operation. Okay, so we have y plus 1 over y minus 1. So that's the inverse of the given function. Okay, so the inverse will be x plus 1, x minus 1. So the range is equal to domain of the inverse, all real except y is equal to y is equal to 1. So all real except y is equal to 1. Kasi pag naging 1 si y, magiging 0 ang denominator and that would result to undefined given function. So another example, get the domain and range of the given function x plus 1 over x. All real ang domain except 0. Hindi pwede maging 0 ang denominator. Getting the inverse of the function, we have to cross multiply. So we have xy is equal to x plus 1. Then xy is equal to, xy minus x is equal to 1. Okay, transpose yung x to the left side of the equation. And then collecting common multiple, we have x. So times the quantity y minus 1. So same value lang yan dito. Okay, x times y, xy, x times negative 1x. So kopya lang yung 1. So we have here to divide. We have to divide the whole equation by y minus 1 to eliminate this term. Okay, para x na lang may iwan. So cancel to. So magkakaroon tayo ng x equals to 1 over ito, y minus 1. So the inverse is y is equal to 1 over x minus 1. So range is all values of y except y is equal to 1. Hindi pwedeng maging 1 si y dahil magiging undefined yung given equation. So an intercept or x-intercept and y-intercept is a point on the axis where the graph of the function passes through. Diba? If you can recall the coordinate plane, meron tayong x-axis and y-axis. Okay, x-intercept kapag nag-cross ang graph sa x-axis. Y-intercept kapag nag-cross ang graph sa y-axis. Okay, asymptote. An asymptote is a vertical or horizontal line in the Cartesian plane that a graph approaches to but never passes through. Okay, so that is the asymptote. Nearly approaching but never touches. So yun yung ibig sabihin ng asymptote na graph or line. So zeros of a function are x-intercept. The graph of rational function. So these are the general steps to graph of rational function. Number 1, factor the numerator and denominator. State the domain and the location of any holes in the graph. Simplify the function to lowest terms. Find the y-intercept, x is equal to 0. Okay? In order for us to be able to find the y-intercept, equate mo lang sa 0 yung x. And then to find the values of x-intercept, i-zero mo lang yung y. So that's it. So identify any existing asymptotes, vertical, horizontal, or oblique. And then identify any points intersecting a horizontal or oblique asymptote. Use test points between the zeros and vertical asymptotes to locate the graph above or below the x-axis and analyze the behavior of the graph on each side of an asymptote and then sketch the graph. So these are the steps on how to plot the graph of a rational function. Okay. So for example, we have f of x equals x squared plus x minus 12 over x squared minus 4. So factor the numerator and the denominator. So if you factor x squared plus x minus 12, that would result to x plus 4 times the quantity x minus 3, and the denominator x squared minus 4 is equal to x plus 2 times x minus 1. So Now, step number 2, state the domain and the location of any holes in the graph. Okay, so the domain will be coming from negative infinity, comma, negative 2, union negative 2, comma 2, union 2, comma, positive infinity. Okay, so in this given domain, there is no holes. Okay. So number 3, simplify the function to lowest terms. So f of x is equal to x plus 4 times the quantity x minus 3 over x plus 2 times x minus 2. So that is the lowest terms. Okay. Step number 4, find the y-intercept where x is equal to 0 and x-intercepts when y is equal to 1. Okay, so for y-intercept, x is 0. Okay, so whenever if x is 0, so this is the value of y. Okay, 0 plus 4 times the quantity 0 minus 3 over 0 plus 2 times quantity 0 minus 2. So we have 4 times negative 3, negative 12. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. So that is positive 3. Negative 12 over negative 4 is positive 3. So the y-intercept for the given function, rational function is 0, 0 ang x, and 3 ang y. X-intercepts, use the numerator factors. Okay? Numerator factors, ito yun. So x plus 4 is equal to 0. Then, x is equal to negative 4 by transposing positive 4 sa right side. So we have negative 4 comma 0, and then for the other numerator, x minus 3 equals 0, we have x is equal to 3. So that is 3 comma 0. Those are the x-intercepts. So these are the points where the graph will gonna cross the y-axis and then x-axis. Okay, now, step number 5, identify any existing asymptotes. Is it vertical, horizontal, or oblique? Okay, so for f of x equals x squared plus x minus 12 over x squared minus 4, and the factor. So horizontal or oblique asymptotes, and this is a vertical asymptote. Okay, so examine the largest exponents here, and then same horizontal, you just have to use the exponents. Okay, you just have to use the exponents. Okay, so we have y is equal to 1 over 1. So horizontal asymptote is 1. Okay, so for this one, you just have to use the coefficients. Vertical asymptotes, use denominator factors. Okay, so the denominator factors is x plus 2 and x minus 2. So we have x plus 2 here, then x is equal to negative 2 and x is equal to positive 2. So that is the vertical asymptotes. So x is equal to negative 2 and x is equal to 2. So horizontal asymptote is y equal to 1, and vertical asymptote x is equal to negative 2 and x is equal to positive 2. Okay, recall that asymptotes are lines nearly approaching but never touches. Okay, 6, identify any points intersecting a horizontal or oblique asymptote. Okay, remember that y is equal to 1 for horizontal asymptote. So, and f of x is x squared plus x minus 12 over x squared minus 4. So, you just have to equate them. And the resulting factor would be cross multiply to simplify the rational function. So, we have 1 times x squared minus 4, x squared minus 4 times ito. So, we have x squared plus x minus 12. So, we have x squared, eliminate x squared both sides by adding negative x squared. So we have negative 4 equals x minus 12. Okay? So eliminate yung x squared dahil nag-add tayo ng negative x squared both sides. So cancel na yun. So matitira negative 4, x minus 12. And then solve for the value of x. So transpose yung negative 12 sa kabila, magiging positive. So 12 minus 4 is 8. So x na lang naiwan. Then the points intersecting horizontal or oblique asymptote is 8, 1. So doon siya mag-intersect. 8, 1. Okay, so next. Use test points between the zeros and vertical asymptotes to locate the graph above or below the x-axis. So, saan ba natin siya makikita, above or below? Okay, so first one to do is to plot an imaginary line. Okay, plot an imaginary line using these factors. So, since x plus 4 to, plot ka ng negative 4. Okay, for negative 0 to make it 0. And then, x minus 3, plot ka ng positive 3. And then, positive 2, plot ka ng negative 2. And then, negative 2, plot ka ng positive 2. So, ayan yung imaginary line mo. So, test. So, test natin. So, whenever if x is negative 5, so, sa region na to, negative 5. So, ano mangyayari? Okay? Saan makikita? Kapag negative 5 yung x, nasaan yung graph? Nasa taas o nasa baba? So, we have to locate for the value. Kung nasa taas ba siya o nasa baba. And then, in order for us to know that, evaluate natin. F is negative 5, substitute. Okay, substitute lang. Lahat ng x, palitan mo ng negative 5. So, f of negative 5, determine the symbol. Okay? Determine natin yung symbol kung nasa positive side ba siya o nasa negative side. Okay? Recall yung x-axis. Kapag pataas, ibig sabihin positive ang y. Kapag pababa, negative ang y. So, identify natin siya. Negative 5 plus 4 is negative. Okay? Negative 5, negative 3, negative. Negative 5 plus 2, negative. Negative 5 minus 2, negative. So, negative over negative is positive. Okay? So, yun yung symbol. Remember, tinetest lang natin yung points between zeros and vertical asymptotes. Okay? So, since negative over negative is positive, then f of negative 5 is above. Okay? Andito, above siya. Okay? Ito yung region niya. Okay? Next, test natin si f of negative 3. Okay? So, halimbawa, negative 3. So, saan siya ba siya? Above or below? So, kapag sinubstitute mo, negative 3 plus 4, so positive 1, positive. Negative 3 minus 3, negative. Negative 3 plus 2, negative 1, so negative. Negative 3 minus 2, negative. So, positive times negative is negative. Then, negative times negative is positive. Okay? So, negative over positive is negative. So, ibig sabihin, f of 3 is below. Okay? So, sa area na to, below ang f of negative 3. For f of 0, we have 0 plus 4, positive. 0 minus 3, negative. 0 plus 2, positive. 0 minus 2, negative. So, positive times negative is negative. Positive times negative is negative. And negative over negative is positive. So, this f of 0 is above. Ito yun. Above. So, ganyan tayo mag-test ng points between zeros and vertical asymptotes. Para malocate natin saan ba yung graph, above or below x-axis. So, yan na yun. Next, number 8, analyze the behavior of the graph on each side of an asymptote. Okay? Analyze the behavior. So, given ito, for x, that is negative 2 going downward. Okay? Okay? Ibig sabihin yan, going downward. When x is negative 2, that is going downward. So, paano ba siya? Analyze natin yung behavior niya by substituting negative 2 dito. So, we have negative 2 plus 4, positive. Okay? Negative 2 minus 3, negative. negative 2 plus 2, 0, going downward. Kaya siya mayroong negative symbol, going downward. And then, negative 2 of negative 2 is negative. Okay? So, f of x is negative infinity. Okay? So, positive times negative is negative, and 0 going downward is negative. Tama? 0 going downward is negative. So, negative over negative, so that is negative infinity. Okay? Negative infinity. Next, x is negative 2, that is going upward. That is going upward. Negative 2 going upward. So, f of x, so same, negative 2 plus 4, positive, x minus, negative 2 minus 3, negative, negative 2 plus 2, 0, that is positive going upward, and negative 2 minus 2 is negative. So, the resulting f of x is positive infinity. Negative, positive times negative, then positive times negative. Negative over negative is positive infinity. So, that is for negative 2 going upward. Next, another one for x is positive 2. Okay, so x is positive 2 naman. So, positive 2 but going downward. Okay, kaya meron tayong negative symbol, going downward. So, f of x, substitute mo si 2. So, 2 plus 4, that is positive 6. Okay, 2 minus 3, negative. 2 plus 2, positive. 2 minus 2, 0, that is going downward. Okay, so ang f of x natin is this is positive times negative is negative. Positive times negative is negative. And negative over negative is positive. Okay? So, positive infinity. So, pataas siya. So, positive infinity. Going downward ang graph pero positive infinity. Next, x is 2 going upward. Okay? So, we have f of x, 2 plus 4, positive. 2 minus 3, negative. 2 plus 2, positive. 2 minus 2 is 0, positive. Okay, going upward. Ito yun. So, we have f of x. So, positive times negative is negative. And positive times positive is positive. So, we have negative over positive is negative. So, f of x is negative infinity. Okay? So, ito yun yung graph niya. So, this is how you sketch the graph. Okay? So, recall, kanina sabi ko, magko-cross siya into y by 3. 3. Okay? Recall. Okay? Ang y-intercept natin, 3. Okay? So, nag-cross siya by 3. And for x-intercepts, we have negative 4, 0, and 3, 0. So, balik tayo dun sa graph. Okay. Ayan. Balik tayo sa graph. 0, 3 si y-intercept. So, bilang ka ng 0 sa x, 1, 2, 3. So, dyan siya nag-cross. For x-intercepts, we have negative 4, 0. 1, 2, 3, negative 4. And then, positive 3, 0. So, 1, 2, 3. So, ganito yung magiging itsura nung graph niya. Okay? So, that's how you plot the rational function. Okay, solving problems involving rational functions, equations, and inequalities. So, the average cost of producing a wheelchair. So, a company that manufactures wheelchairs as cost given by the function c of x, okay, c of x representing cost, okay, equals 400x plus 500,000, where the x is the number of wheelchairs produced per month and c of x is measured in dollars. So the average cost per wheelchair for the company is given by, okay, original cost was 400x plus 500,000. Okay, so find the interpret. Okay, so we have if x is 1,000, if x is 10,000, and if x is 100,000. Okay, if x is 1,000, then the resulting value would be 900. Okay, so that is 1,000 times 400 plus 500,000 divided by 1,000. Okay, so 1,000 times 400, so that is 400,000 plus 500,000 divided by 1,000, that is 900. Okay, so the average cost of producing 1,000 wheelchair per month is $900. Next, so find and interpret if the wheelchair is 10,000 pieces. Okay, for C of 10,000, we have 450. So the average cost of producing 10,000 wheelchair per month is 450. You have to substitute 10,000 by 2x and then multiply by 400 plus 500,000 divided by 10,000. So find and interpret the 100,000. So if C is of 100,000, so that is equal to 405. So the average cost of producing 100,000 wheelchair per month is $405. Okay, so the horizontal asymptote means that the more wheelchair produced per month, the closer the average cost comes to 400. Okay, the more wheelchair produced, the cost comes to 100. So the lower prices take place with higher production levels, so posing potential problems for small business. So that's how you solve the rational equations in problems. Okay, so to solve rational equations, first multiply each side by LCD. Okay, you must check for extraneous solutions or a solution that doesn't work. Okay. Okay, so for example, LCD of x plus 3, x minus 3. So if you have given a problem x over x minus 3 plus x over x plus 3 equals 2 over x plus 3 times x minus 3. So the LCD would be x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, so multiply these terms to the whole equation. Okay, so by distributive property, so we will be having x over x minus 3 times x plus 3 times x minus 3. Okay, cancel to. Dito sa part na to, maka-cancel to because of common terms. Then we will be left out with x times x plus 3. X times x plus 3. Okay, ito yun. Next, x over x plus 3 times this quantity. So, makakancel yung x plus 3, x plus 3. So, matitira x times x minus 3. Ito yun, x times x minus 3. So, for this one, makakancel yung buo kasi pareho sila. Okay? Cancelled. X plus 3 times x minus 3 over x plus 3 times x minus 3, cancel yun. Equal to 1. So, 2 na lang yung may iiwan. Then, perform the operation, multiplication, and distributive property. Okay, so we have x times x squared, x times 3, 3x, plus x times x squared, x times negative 3x equals to 2. Okay, x squared, 2x squared. 3x minus 3x, cancel. 0 yun. So we have 2x squared equals 2 divided by 2 both sides. So we have x squared equals 1. Then, by getting the square root of x squared, we have x is equal to positive or negative 1. Okay? So, check for extraneous solutions. So, plug answer into original problem. So, gagawin mo lang doon, isa-substitute mo lang yung answer doon sa original problem dito. Okay? Substitute mo lang yung sagot. So, we have positive or negative 1. So, you just have to try, positive 1 or negative 1. Okay? So, that's it. Same here, solve for x minus 1, x plus over x plus 2 times x plus 1 plus 2x over x plus 2 equals x minus 1 over x plus 1 times x plus 2 x plus 1. So, ito yung original problem natin. So, ang LCD niya ay x plus 2 times x plus 1. So, mumultiply mo lang yun, to, for the whole equation. To, dito. Okay? So, pag ito, minultiply mo dito sa buong to, makakancel ito. Okay? Pareho sila x plus 2, x plus 2, x plus 1, x plus 1. May iwan na lang x minus 1. Ito yun. Next, for this whole term, multiplied for this one, okay, makakancel si x plus 2. So, maiiwan 2x times x plus 1. So, 2x, x plus 1. Ito yun. Next, multiply this term to this whole term. So, mangyayari, makakancel si x plus 1. Okay, matitira x plus 2 times x minus 1. Ito yun. X minus 1, x plus 2. Then, perform the indicated operation. X minus 1, kopya. 2x times x, 2x squared. 2x times 1, 2x equals x times x, x squared. FOIL method, negative x, 2x. Okay, so 2x plus negative x, we have x na lang. 2x minus x. Then, negative 1 times 2, we have negative 2. Okay? Then, perform the indicated operation, addition. So, collecting like terms. So, since wala naman siyang kasama dito, so 2x squared. 2x plus x, we have 3x. And then, negative 1. So, kopya, x squared plus x minus 2. Transpose lahat ng term on the right sides and equate to 0. Okay? Transpose si positive x squared, add ka ng negative x squared both sides. So, magiging x squared na lang siya. 2x squared minus x squared. So, x squared. Transpose si x sa left side, 3x minus x, 2x. Transpose si negative 2 on the left side. So, add ka ng positive 2 both sides. So, negative 1 plus 2 is positive 1. Then, equal to 0. So, for you to be able to find the value of x, factor mo lang. So, factor mo tong whole equation na ito. So, you have x plus 1 times x plus 1 equal to 0. So, to check, negative 1 does not work, so there is no solution. Okay? Negative 1 doesn't work, so there is no solution. So, using calculator, you can also solve mathematical or rational functions in calculator if you have your advanced calculator. And then word problem. So example, the function below gives the concentration of the saline solution after adding x milliliters of 0.5% solution to 100 milliliters of 2% solution. Okay? So 100 milliliters times 0.02 for 2% and x times x add x milliliters of 0.5%. So 0.5% is equal to 0.005 over 100 plus x. So for this kind of problem, we are mixing different kind of solution, the 5% and 2% solution. So for 2% solution, 100 milliliters yung inad. And for 0.5% solution, undefined. Hindi natin alam kung ilan yung inad na solution. So ganito yung function na given if you are trying to compute for the concentration of the saline solution. So next, how many milliliters of 0.5% solution must be added to have a combined concentration of 9%. So ito naman, concentration yung given, so dito siya. Concentration. So kailangan mong hanapin kung ilang milliliters ng 0.5%. Okay, ilang milliliters, ito yun, ng 0.5%. Yung dapat mong i-add sa 100 milliliters ng 0.02. Okay? So, if you are going to compute for that using calculator, the answer is x is equal to 275. So, we have here another problem. Distance equals rate times time, okay? So, given the formula D equals RT, so when a problems involve how fast, how far, or how long, think about distance equation. So, D equals RT. For example, given 1,850 is equal to 480 times time. Okay? So, example, a plane flies 1,850 miles at a speed of 480 miles per hour. So, find the time of the trip to the nearest hundredth. Okay? So, given 480, you have to substitute. So, for work problems, you have to think of the problem in terms of how much each person or thing does in a given amount of time. Okay? So, we have the formula. So, we have the formula, for example, 1 over 8 plus 1 over 12 equals 1 over t. Represents the total time. Okay? How much of the job can Joe do in 1 hour and Steve in 1 hour? Okay? Given that, meron silang rate. Okay? So, sabi niya, Joe can paint room in 8 hours and Steve can paint the same room